All right, I'm going to do a requested video. If you've got a question, obviously type it down in the comments section here on YouTube. I will type out a reply if it's something that's fairly simple. Don't be offended if I simply link one of my previous videos. Simply, it's one of those where if I've already done a video on it, you're going to get a whole lot more out of me linking that video than me trying to quickly type something out because I might be in a hurry to do something else. If it's something I've done a video on previously that maybe my thoughts have changed, maybe I'll do a different video, revisit that topic. But if you've got something that you would like some clarification on, something I've already done a video on, new topic, write it down in the comment section. If it warrants a video like this one, I'm going to do a video on it. The question that this person asked was West Coast driving, or Western U.S. driving, I guess, would be the topic. Quite frankly, and this is just going to be some of my thoughts on it. I have not done a ton of, personally, I've driven just about everywhere in this country. Whether it's in a truck, whether it's in a personal vehicle, whether, I've traveled all across this country. The Pacific Northwest is about the only place I haven't gone to. Haven't been to Alaska or Hawaii either, but I've been pretty much everywhere else. Been to California in a truck, been to, the Rockies in a truck, done mountains, done all that stuff. If you come to Prime and you go into the tanker division, I know I've mentioned it before, you're not going to head west all that often. We don't have a ton of freight out there. If you are a team truck or if you train and you're an over-the-road driver, you're going to get out west more often than a solo driver. That's just the simple reality of it. But as a solo, you're not going to get out there very often. The flip side of that is you probably don't want to get out there very often. You may get a New Jersey to California load. But once you get out there, you may sit for a couple of days because since we don't have a lot of freight that goes to California, we don't have a lot of customers in California that then need something coming back east. So it can be a bit of a money pit. You may get a load that picks up in New Jersey and pays you $3,000 to go out to California, and you take a look at that and say, hey, I'm in the money. I made a ton of money this week. If you then get to California and you sit for 3 days because the next pickup in California isn't for 3 days, that makes it difficult to make money. So in tanker, and obviously you can make money if things set up perfectly. And that's obviously what your dispatcher's job is to try and line things up. The couple of times that I went to California, things lined up just about as well as you could have asked. As mentioned, New Jersey to California, it was cocoa butter. Going from New Jersey to a chocolate factory in California. Got a wash the next day, I believe. We picked up, let me think about this. We picked up white wine going from California to Texas, and then delivered, had to go down. And there's the other problem is once you get into these states that we don't deliver a ton to, we had to drive an hour and a half to get to a tank wash, 2 hours to get to a tank wash, get back, picked up red wine. I think it was the opposite. I think we took red wine from California to Texas and then white wine from Texas back to California. Again, sat, and we sat either a day or it was the following day that we picked back up sunflower oil going from California to North Carolina. What people want to know when they talk about West Coast driving, though, truck stops, parking in California, idling in California, it's a pain in the rear. I went in early spring. It was awesome from the standpoint of it was snowing in a lot of the rest of the country, and I got to go out to California and down to Texas and Arizona and New Mexico and avoided a lot of winter. Getting out there through the Rockies, that's a different story altogether. Finding parking is very difficult in California. Finding parking in the West in general is very difficult. You would think it wouldn't be because there's so much space out there and so few people, but it is difficult. The idling laws are obviously, you've got APUs on the trucks, but idling laws are kind of a pain in the behind in California and in the West. The mountains obviously are, you deal with the mountains in the East. I like to think, or I like to say that they're large hills compared to what you deal with in the West. Obviously there are some larger mountains in the East as well, but dealing with Donner Pass and things along those lines, it's a different animal. It takes patience. California has the 55 mile an hour speed limit, and they will ticket you for going 56 miles an hour in a truck, so that's a bit of a pain in the behind as well. During chain law times, you have to have chains on the truck, even if chains are not required at that particular time. You do need to have chains on your truck in the states that do have chain laws, in Idaho and Montana and Colorado and Wyoming and states like that. You have to have them on the truck. Personally, I'm never going to chain up a truck, because if it's that bad out that you need chains, you should park. Now, I understand, and this is the difference when you're in the West as opposed to driving around Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, where I do most of my driving. If it's bad enough for chains, I've got time to park. If you're climbing up Donner Pass and the chain law goes into effect, you've got nowhere to go. You've got to get pulled over to the side to a chain up area. You've got to get the chains on and get yourself to a safe place. So that's a difference with driving in the West. Now, all of the pain in the rear that I've talked about, pay, as I mentioned, pay going from east to west is typically very good. Pay consequently going west to east is not as good. So and that holds true in reefer division, flatbed division as well. You'll get paid well to go out there as a kind of an incentive to get you out there, but then to get back is not necessarily as good. You kind of deal with all the pain in the rear of the stuff that I'm talking about. And then, to me, I love the western part of the United States. It's just as far as scenery. Driving through areas, Bonneville Salt Flats, the desert in Utah. Unbelievably beautiful part of this country that if you've never been to, man alive, it's one of the reasons that you want to be a truck driver, is to see some of these things that you have never seen before in your entire life. Love driving out west from that standpoint. There are challenges to driving out west. And like I said, it's one of those things that if I was an over-the-road truck driver, I think it would be worth to deal with some of those challenges. We're fortunate in Tanker. When we went out west, when I was in training and did over-the-road stuff, we were able to park at a tank wash. So finding parking in California was not as challenging. I think we parked at a tank wash every night except for one that we were out in California, and we parked at a TA the one night that I'm thinking of as an exception. But other than that, you can park at tank washes, and that's one advantage in this division. But of course, you have to go through the port of entries and deal with all that stuff, and that's another one. In a tanker, it's not as big a deal because you're always going to have a sealed trailer. Even if you're empty, you're going to have a sealed up trailer, and they're not going to open up the sealed up trailer. You're not going to have to worry about the immigration things and Are they smuggling illegal aliens and things like that? At least not as much as the box truck guys. So as far as West Coast stuff, I think it would be interesting. I would enjoy doing it just partially because I love that part of the country. But as far as with Prime and Tanker, it's just not a large part of what we do. I hope that answers your question. It probably is not necessarily the answer you're looking for, but that's what we have. West Coast driving. And at least as far as how it concerns Prime Tanker. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks again for watching. Talk to you next week.